Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on Qatar. I'm sure you've seen the pictures, the incredible glittering skyscrapers, the over-the-top luxury. But that's just the shiny exterior. We're going to take a look at the side of the country that exists just underneath that gleaming surface.
Okay, so to really get Qatar, you have to understand this one central idea. It's a tale of two completely different places wrapped up in one. On one hand, you've got this vision of insane, futuristic wealth, and on the other, a society that's run by some very ancient traditions and super strict laws. This clash? This is what we're going to unpack. All right, first up, let's talk about the Qatar that everybody knows and sees on TV. This image of pure, unapologetic modernity. It's all summed up in the capital, Doha. I mean, look at that skyline. It gives places like Dubai or even New York a run for their money. Talk about a statement of ambition.
And trust me, that ambition is everywhere. You see it in the crazy architecture, in the sheer audacity of building something like the Pearl Qatar, a man-made island that cost billions. It was front and center when they hosted the 2022 FIFA World Cup, which was a huge deal for an Arab nation. But it's also in their culture and society, with amazing places like the Museum of Islamic Art and really high standards for schools and hospitals.
So the big question is, how did all this happen? How does a country that was mostly desert a few generations ago turn into this global powerhouse? Well, the story is this incredibly fast, almost dizzying leap from diving for pearls to pumping out petroleum.
And when you look at the timeline here, it's just wild how quickly it all went down. Before the 1950s, Qatar's main gig was pearl diving, a pretty modest living. Then, bam, in the 50s, they strike massive reserves of oil and natural gas, and everything changes. After they got their independence from Britain in '71, they just leaned into it. And today, they're the world's biggest exporter of natural gas.
And all that national wealth didn't just stay at the top. It trickled right down to the people. The source material points to a truly staggering level of personal wealth. We're talking about the local currency equivalent of over $9.5 million per month for your average middle-class person. Just let that sink in. It really puts the scale of this economic boom into perspective.
Which leads us to the most important question of all, right? With all this money, all this modernity, what is daily life actually like for the folks who live there? And this is where the story gets really interesting. Because hiding just behind that modern facade is a world of incredibly strict rules. It's the other side of what you could call the social contract in Qatar. Basically, the state provides everything you could ever want, and in exchange, you follow some deeply traditional social and religious laws. Let's look at the benefits side of that deal first. As a Qatari citizen, you pay zero income tax. Other taxes barely exist. Your electricity, your water, your medical care, your education, all of it, totally free, paid for by the government. It's basically a cradle-to-grave welfare system completely funded by natural gas. But here's the trade-off. Your personal freedoms are seriously limited. Homosexuality is illegal, and the punishment can range from prison to even death. Getting alcohol is really, really difficult. It's against the law for an unmarried couple to live together. There are strict dress codes, especially for women, and the government keeps a tight leash on the internet and the media. And for women, the restrictions are particularly intense. Because of the male guardianship system, a woman often needs to get permission from a male relative, a father, husband, or brother, for huge life decisions. Things like getting married, traveling out of the country, going to college, or even taking certain jobs. Now, you might think that in such a restrictive environment, that's the end of the story. But humans are creative, and some really surprising social phenomena have popped up. One of the most fascinating is something called the misyar marriage, which basically acts as a legal workaround for some of these rules. So what on earth is it? Okay, a misyar marriage is a real, legally recognized marriage, but it's temporary. And here's the key part. The couple agrees up front to give up some of the rights you'd expect in a normal marriage. They don't have to live together, and the husband has zero obligation to support the wife financially. And when you put the two side by side, the difference is just, whoa. Traditional marriage, it's permanent, the husband has financial duties, you live together. Misyar, it can be for a few days, a few weeks, whatever. No financial strings attached, no shared home, and almost no legal protection for the wife. It's essentially a way to have a relationship that would otherwise be totally illegal, but within a legal framework. And this really gets to the heart of why it's so controversial. The source material quotes someone saying, "This marriage is just an excuse. The purpose is something else."
A lot of critics basically see it as a loophole to legitimize relationships that are outside the bounds of traditional marriage, without any of the actual commitment. So what you end up with is this nation of really deep contradictions. Qatar is constantly performing this high-stakes balancing act, trying to juggle its 21st century global ambitions with its deeply traditional roots. And nothing illustrates this better than the population itself. This might be the most mind-blowing stat of all. Actual Qatari citizens only make up about 10% of the people living in their own country. The other 90%? They're foreign workers from all over the world, places like India, Nepal, the Philippines, you name it.
Just think about that for a second. You have this hyper-modern, futuristic country being built literally brick by this enormous global workforce. And every single one of them, no matter where they're from, has to live under the exact same traditional, restrictive laws as the local Qataris. Which leaves us with this one giant, lingering question. As Qatar keeps getting bigger and more influential on the world stage, hosting huge events and throwing its money around, which face of this incredibly complex country is going to win out? Is it the futuristic innovator or the staunch traditionalist? Which one will ultimately define its future?